What's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we are doing the Spence versus Crawford Showtime pay-per-view recap. We're going to talk about the whole card that took place last Saturday, the July 29th on pay-per-view. So before we get into that, if you guys could smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I try to build my channel up here. Now, if there's something you guys don't like, you can always leave a comment or subscribe to the channel. I mean, leave a comment or give me a thumbs down. It was funny, I had a guy just say, who cares of the, who cares about the opinion of some random guy in a driving a truck? That's fine. It actually made me laugh. But remember, this is all fact-based opinions, and I emphasize that because I think this video is going to get quite a bit of hits because it was Spence and Crawford. But let's go through the undercard real quick and then get into the main event. We're going to start with the Tellez and Sergio Garcia super welterweight showdown at 154. I mean, I picked Sergio Garcia in this fight, but I think I do that a lot with when they're facing guys that are unproven and we really don't know how good they are. But Tellez proved, man, the dude is totally legit as he blitzed Sergio Garcia and stopped him in 3 rounds. I mean, impressive ass performance. Excuse me. Sergio Garcia, the last 2 years, has lost to Sebastian Fundora by a close decision, and then lost to Tony Harrison where he got completely outboxed. But Tellez was an undefeated, unproven fighter, and I think he was only 5-0 going into that fight, and he just absolutely dominated Sergio Garcia. So I got to check to see if that's going to qualify him for a what's next video. If he's truly in the top 10, I got to look at my top 10 and reevaluate. But what a statement victory on a big card. So very impressed with that, very happy with that, and congratulations to Tellez on that big time victory. The second fight on the card was Santiago against Donaire for the vacant WBC bantamweight title, and what a performance that Santiago turned in. Remember, I took Nonito Donaire in this fight, but I also told you guys not to sleep on Santiago because he had a decent resume, even though he's not a big name, and his couple losses weren't horrible losses. They weren't bad losses, and I was very impressed with the way he just broke down Nonito, the Filipino Flash. I mean, what a Hall of Fame career, and he decided to go out on his shield. He didn't get knocked out in this one, and I think he should hang him up, call it quits. He lost to maybe the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world in Neo Inoue. He lost to him last week, and again, no shame in losing to another good solid fighter on the rise right here in Santiago. So Donaire, again, that he's one of my favorite fighters of this generation. Definitely a big fan, and went out on his shield, kept fighting down to the last second, the final bell. And but Santiago, congratulations to him on becoming the new bantamweight champion. So big time win. The co-feature though, Isaac Cruz versus Cabrera. And I told you guys, do not sleep on Cabrera either. This could be a close fight. He's an undefeated fighter, and I thought Cruz was going to beat him, but more convincingly. But what I'm starting to see in Isaac Cruz is I don't think he's all that great of a fighter. He's tiny. He's got the heart of a lion. They call him Pitbull for, they don't call him Pitbull for nothing. But unless you're going to be in that kind of fight, you really got to look at Cruz's resume and go, okay, who is this guy really beating like a legitimate lightweight? He hasn't beaten anybody in the top 10. He gave Gervonta Davis hell, but maybe Davis, a couple things. Maybe Davis was overlooking Cruz, or maybe Davis's hand was really hurt, and that's why he didn't finish him. it was a close fight, but I think that's his claim to fame right now. And I don't know, Cruz just not impressive. Won a close decision against an undefeated but really unproven and untested fighter in Cabrera. So congrats to Cruz. He stays in the mix. But for me, it was kind of like, well, how good is this guy really? Do we really know? I guess we're going to find out, you know. But as long as he keeps winning, we're going to get the opportunity to find out. And he won, so congrats to him. But the main event, Terrence Bud Crawford against Errol Spence Jr. And all I can say about this fight was wow. Wow, wow. You know, I guess because Crawford, you know, you look at his resume and it's solid. It is, you know, it's not great, nothing fancy coming in. It's just the things he's accomplished and also the way he's destroyed his opponents. You know, he's beaten some good fighters. But to go in against the top guy, especially when a lot of people think the size, you know, the overall size difference, because Spence is naturally a bigger fighter, that was going to make a world of difference. You know, I picked Crawford to win based on how special he is, but I did not see this one coming. This much of a one-sided beat-down victory right here for Terrence Bud Crawford. I mean, man, he was just, after that feel-out first round, he was just like magic. I mean, I thought the second round was somewhat close until the knockdown, which was on a very hard jab. I thought at first it was more off balance, but I think it did rock Spence. Then in the third round, I thought that round was somewhat close, you know, and you could have called it either way. But, I mean, he just destroyed Errol Spence Jr. after that. I mean, he beat him up. And, you know, Spence landed some shots here and there. But, and you know, Spence got a big heart. He was trying to do something. But Terrence Crawford, they just, you know, I'll go back to Cepeda when he fought that kid last year. I can't remember his damn name. It might have been the year before when he said there's levels to this. And he caught that undefeated kid and knocked him out in the first round after that kid kept kept talking shit before the fight. And, I mean, if this doesn't prove that there's levels, but there's also a level of specialness that you don't see. It's rarefied air. And Terrence Bud Crawford is on that level. I've said since I started watching Crawford that this guy's special. He's something different. You know, and the only thing I felt that was Crawford's fault about his resume was the fact that he kept signing with Top Rank. I thought that was a mistake. I was really hoping the last time he signed, he was going to sign with the PBC or something. So you do have to, you know, criticize him a little bit for that. But, you know, you also got to put a lot on Bob Arum, too, for having some of those strained relationships that led to those fights not being made. But, you know, what I felt separated Crawford and Spence going in was the Sean Porter fight. And, you know, Crawford didn't beat the shit out of Porter. He just stopped them and landed those perfectly timed shots. And that's the thing. You put two really good fighters in the ring against each other, and you get a dominant performance like this, and it just, you know, it separates truly great from very good. And I think I've said this a lot of times about Pacquiao and Mayweather and guys like Triple G, you know, who fight late in their career. Bernard Hopkins, they don't have to be great late in their career. They're very good, can beat most fighters great. And I mean, I don't know if Crawford's still technically in his prime or not. You know, I guess we're never going to know that because most of his prime years, he didn't have the best resume. Again, not all his fault, but to completely dominate and shut down the other fighter, a very good fighter like Errol Spence, was just magical. It really was a magical performance. Crawford, after the fight, didn't even look like he had gotten touched. And Errol Spence looked like he was high, the way he was talking, and so utterly beat up. But I do want to touch on the excuse after. Well, you know, Errol says, I'm not making any excuses. Okay. But he did make excuses without making excuses, if that makes sense. First off, talking about timing. Okay, I'm not saying being out of the ring for a certain amount of time doesn't mess up your timing. I'm not saying that at all. But I do find it interesting that you could talk about timing for this fight. 15 months in between, a little over 15 months, 15 and a half months in between the Ugas fight and the Crawford fight. I want to call two things in question here, though. First off, Errol Spence could have did what Crawford did once the fight fell apart last year and fought and taken a tune-up bout, you know, like Crawford did against Alvanesian, to stay sharp and stay on point. Spence said there wasn't anybody out there other than the Crawford fight. So I don't want to fucking hear about timing. You know, you chose to stay inactive. That's one point. But here's 2 points about timing that I think I call BS on. You know, in between the Ugas fight and his previous fight, which was Danny Garcia, 16 months out of the ring. That was the difference there. And the reasoning for those 16 months, well, was car accidents, different things like that, especially that big one. And COVID, of course, you know, that held up some things from happening the way we wanted them to happen. But be that as it may, you know, Crawford and the Crawford fight was the same amount of time, and I'm sorry, Errol Spence looked fucking fantastic against Yordenis Ugas. He dominated Yordenis Ugas with ease. Might have been his best overall performance since he became a top-tier fighter, because he actually stopped this guy and unified 3 of the 4 belts. And this guy was coming off the win over Pacquiao. So I really don't want to hear the timing bullshit. Maybe that is legit, but I think the reason his timing was off because he was facing Terrence Crawford. So, excuse me for getting loud, but I don't like to take anything away from fantastic performances. And now the second thing that I deem an excuse is the weight. You know, he's been making 147 fine. You know, he says it's always been hard to get down to 147. Okay, whatever. He's looked fantastic at that weight every time out before Crawford. You know, he really has. Maybe it caused him to not knock out fighters. You know, I've seen that happen before. Guys weren't able to knock out fighters because they were squeezing down. I think David Benavidez doesn't knock out some of his opponents, or he lets them go later at 168 because he should be at 175. So maybe there's something to that. And we always known Spence is a big welterweight, but be that as it may, he's always made welterweight fine. So he is a humble guy. You know, I don't think he was trying to make excuses. I honestly, those reporters are asking for reasons. He gave them a couple reasons. I just want to call some BS on those reasons because they do sound like excuses. But Bud is not opposed to, you know, he said after the fight, when Spence, you know, after Spence said, I hope the next fight's at 154, the rematch. Bud said, you know, their next fight does not have to be at welterweight. So we'll discuss more on that when we do the What's Next video next week. And, you know, we're going to have Spence, Crawford, Isaac Cruz, and maybe Tellez on those What's Next videos you know, next week when I do them. But this was a magical, truly special performance. And I really just wanted to put this one out there because I was just, it was just awesome. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was the Spence versus Crawford Showtime pay-per-view recap. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.